Hey everybody, it's Josh, the Firearm Convention 350 Legend Group. I just wanted to do a video on, you guessed it, the CMMG 350 Legend Barrel. So, you may have remembered back in the day, feels like so long ago, that we had a video up about the pre-order from Cattail Run. And this is the barrel that was on pre-order. At the time, it was $169, and it was free shipping. I want to give a plug to the guys up at Cattail Run. I mean, I bought this barrel at full retail price from them. They didn't pay me to advert them or anything like that, but I feel that they deserve a plug. So I'm going to put them in a link in the description. And if you are looking for a barrel, a CMMG barrel from them, give them a shot, okay? They've done great by me so far. So what we have here is exactly how this barrel came. I'm going to unscrew it here. Got a screw out cap. And we've got a pretty standard barrel, okay? So this guy is 16.1 inches long. It is made out of 4140 chrome molybdenum, and it is salt bath nitrided. Okay, pretty standard stuff. So I just wanted to go down the barrel from the extension to the muzzle, and go from there, and just kind of give you a first look on this barrel. I also have for you a little treat here. That is a chamber cast of this barrel. We'll go over that, and we'll get all the numbers for that immediately in the video. I'm going to write them down. You're going to have to pardon my little chicken scratch drawing I have here. We're going to write down all the numbers. This would be the bolt carrier group starting here, going towards the muzzle. Look at that, I even have a little rose up there, little compass rose. But anyway, let's go down this barrel from start to finish. There's some things I really like. There's some things that I really kind of dislike. So starting off, we have the barrel extension, and we have this kind of double radiused extension here. Let me see if I can get it to focus up that close. There it is. So we have this barrel extension that's kind of radiused. You can see the two pockets on that side and the two pockets on this side, and you just got a big hogged out feed ramp area. And I don't know if they just went with a 5.56 feed ramp, like an M4 feed ramp, and just rolled with it. I can't see how these make any sense otherwise, because they look to be pretty much in the position of where the 5.56 feed ramp would be. So basically the takeaway from this is they've hogged out this barrel extension to where you can feed pretty much anything except for wad cutters out of it. So I mean, it's a pretty simple barrel extension. So there's not really a whole lot there. It's just a well-made barrel extension. Like I said, now let's move on to the contour of this barrel. The barrel contour itself is a little bit heavier than M4, or a little bit lighter than M4, I think, the government contour, but it's definitely lighter, or I'm sorry, heavier than a lightweight profile. See all these lightweights and heavyweight barrels? Yeah. But anyway, we have a pretty thick barrel down here. Let me see. I can use my calipers, my trusty calipers, to get a number on this. And we are at 775. Okay. And we have a gas block journal, which is 750. That gas port sits at 0.096. Okay, It's a pretty large gas port. This is a carbine gas barrel. Okay. So let's move on to the chamber. So the chamber in this is right there. This is what you call a sulfur cast. It's slightly different from a standard Safe cast. Safe, when you cast this chamber, you would have to wait an hour or so for it to swell back up to become proper bore dimensions to measure it. And then over time it will re-shrink, and you'll have to know pretty much exactly when you made the cast to get accurate numbers. Anyway, that being said, a sulfur cast, from the second it dries until it turns back into dust, it's basically going to be the exact same size. There's no shrinkage, there's no growth. Downside, it is a little bit more delicate than a Safe cast. So, I've got my handy dandy, chamber that we're going to give measurements on. And before we move forward, I'm just going to outline a little bit. When I say throat, I mean from right here where the chamber stops to where the rifling is fully engaged, to where the rifling is full depth. Okay? When I say free bore, I mean from where the chamber stops to where the first rifling marks begin. So this will be the free bore area. And the lead, L-E-A-D-E, lead, is the length of rifling that you begin to see until it goes to full depth. We're going to have to eyeball that length, but we'll be able to get that length. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get some measurements on this chamber, and I'm going to do that right here with you. I'm just going to put you up on this nice stand of my wife's, because like I said in a previous video, I'll never complain about this stand again. It's becoming very handy. So, down here at the base of the case, we are getting 389. Okay? Now this is the CMMG barrel. Up at the top of the case, right at the case mouth, we are getting 377. Okay, that's 377. For the free bore, we'll come in on the back side here. We're going to find that rifling right there. That is. I hope you guys can see this. Right there is the beginning of the rifling. Yeah, you can see that right there, right there. I can actually see it better on the camera. So the free bore is 0.113 inches, 113 thou. And the diameter, that's very important. Diameter of the throat, right in front of the chamber, as you can see, is 356. 356. Now that's important, guys. 356. So what does that mean for us? I'll explain that here when we get onto the paper. Okay? Now, let me find the lead length. It's going to be about right there to right there. And that is going to be 149. 149. So, .149. And of course, we can go across the lands and grooves on this sulfur cast here, and it is 354.5. Okay, see that? 354.5, 355. And we can spin that a little bit and come over here and do another measurement if we want. It's right at 355. So these Lyman calipers have been very good to me as far as being on the money, as far as size-wise and everything. So I'm just kind of going off there. Now remember how I said it was delicate? I just kind of cracked it. So that's one of the downsides to having a sulfur cast over a Cerasafe. And I'll just demonstrate this. There it is. So they're easy to break. But I've got the measurements that I need. So let's move on. Okay. So based on the measurements that we got here, base is roughly 389. Case mouth is 377. That's about 10 thousandths worth of taper, which is correct. We have a 356 throat, 0.356. So that's important, okay? Because we at the group here on 350 Legend, we at the group, let me see here. Can I change this around? No. So we at the group 350 Legend have done a pretty serious debate on this as to what diameter bullet we're supposed to run. And we've come to the conclusion that it's 355. So Winchester marks it as 357. But that's the SAMI drawing. But guys, SAMI has a tolerance window of 3 thousandths, negative 3 thousandths. So anything that's 357 minus 3 thousandths is still within SAMI spec. So Winchester sent this drawing at 357 to all these different states, you know, Michigan and Delaware and Ohio and Iowa and, you know, parts of Pennsylvania where it's shotgun only. And they basically said, does this design fit your parameters for legal use in the shotgun only or restricted rifles zones? They all came back and said yes. Well, what Winchester didn't tell them, and what Winchester will not tell you, is that they mic'd this out to be a 355 bore. As you can see from my numbers, 355 was our actual bore measurement. And then we have a throat, which is 1 thousandth larger than the bore measurement. If this was meant to be a 357 bore, okay, the throat would have been at a minimum 357.5, because you need at a minimum a 1/2 thousandth of an inch over your nominal bullet diameter to safely fire that diameter bullet. Okay, so let me say that, you know, let me try and simplify that. If this was designed to shoot 357 bullets, this number right here would be 3575, because you don't want to put a 357 bullet in a 356 throat, because if that bullet has more resistance in the sidewall of the bore before it can get movement forward, then you will create a bore obstruction and blow the gun up. Okay, that's life, that's how it works. As soon as that bullet gets forward momentum, the friction on the sides of the bullet will never be enough to stop it. But it has to get moving first. So anyway, the free bore is sitting at 113 thousandths, and that's pretty short, but we're dealing with pistol bullets here, guys, that have a pretty short, ogive anyway. We're not dealing with a whole bunch of secant bullets, a whole lot of Spitzer bullets. We're dealing with some pretty tight ogives. So that's not a hindrance. Then you've got the lead, which is a pretty significant length. I mean, that's a pretty significant lead. And like I said before, the lead is the time where the rifling starts up to where the rifling becomes full height. So the rifling has a full height in it. Now your bullet just can't hit a big square wall of rifling. So your rifling has to be kind of ramped up like this. That's a lead right there. That's what the lead measures. It's basically the rifling ramp length. Because if a bullet were to just hit this big old square rifling, pressures would shoot up. There would be no accuracy because you would just destroy the jacket. So there's this ramp up for your rifling right there that allows the bullet to swage itself easily into the riflings. And that's what we're measuring right here. Okay, now moving forward, moving on to the barrel. The barrel here, guys, is, like I said, it's a carbine gas system. But I was surprised that CMMG went with a carbine gas system on this. But then again, if you remember Advanced Armament Corporation, when they came out with the 300 Blackout, they had carbine gas systems, and they were optimized for subs and supers. But much like AAC, CMMG basically took the time to develop this cartridge, develop this barrel. They put the T&E into this round and this barrel to make this function correctly with a carbine gas system. Now, as we get other manufacturers out there, and as we get other companies that cut this barrel down, because nobody's going to run a 16-inch barrel and then put a 7-inch suppressor on the end of it. We're starting to get into musket territory. A lot of guys are going to want this barrel down around 10, 11, 12 inches, even down to 7 inches or so. Okay, well, 7 inches would be right here. 7 inches or so, which means we're going to see more and more barrels, in my opinion, with a pistol-length gas system, just like the 300 AAC. We have a lot of companies that, have pistol-length gas systems. Big name brand companies. Novisky does a pistol-length gas system on the 300 AAC. We have Faxon. We have Excalibur, Ballistic Advantage. A lot of these companies, want their barrels to function subs and supers, so they're going to make it a pistol gas. And you're going to see that, because these barrel manufacturers don't know what buffer you're running. They don't know what springs you're running. They don't know if you're running a lightweight carrier or an M16 carrier, or, so the easiest way to ensure functionality is to take this gas hole, this gas length, shorten it to pistol, open it up a little bit, make it overgassed. But that's going to ensure functionality with pretty much anything on the market. If you wanted to, you could take my Novisky barrel in 300 AAC with a pistol gas system, and if I had my tax stamp, I could put it on my A1 or A2 lower, and it would run. And that's what they want. They want the most oddball combo to work. Okay? So this barrel's pretty lightweight. Even though it looks fairly thick, we got to remember that there's a hole running through this thing that's 1.5 times the diameter of a 5.56. Okay? So the barrel's pretty lightweight. I'd say it's within ounces of a lightweight profile or a pencil profile 5.56 barrel. Now, that being said, let's talk about the difference between this and a 5.56 as far as barrel life is concerned. A barrel of this type, 4140 chromoly vanadium with salt bath nitrided finish, is in 223, would give you a hard use life of about 15,000 rounds. With this barrel, if you were to use the exact same style and the same hard use life, the same high volume, this barrel, in my personal opinion, is going to net you in the neighborhood of 40,000 rounds, because you're using roughly 3 to 5 grains less powder, and you're doing 1.5 times the bore diameter. So you have less powder going through a much larger hole, which is going to allow you much, much greater barrel life. Now, for guys like myself, this is a hunting barrel. This really isn't a barrel that I'm going to be doing a lot of burning, with to range, because let's face it, that's what my 5.56s are for. This barrel is much more going to be used to hunt with, to shoot with. It's, you know, if I used it hard use at the range, but didn't get it hot. You know, let's say I just, every time I took it to the range, I shot 500, 600, 700 rounds to it. You know, because 9mm plinking bullets are cheap, guys. You know, it could be a high volume barrel. If it's a high volume, but, you know, low heat barrel, my guess is that you're looking at 75,000 rounds before this barrel needs changed out. That's a ton of shooting. But it is what it is, okay? So let's get, you know, the carbine gas is one of those take it or leave it things that, you know, I like about this barrel. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just, it is what it is on these barrels. The profile I like, keeps it nice and lightweight, you know. And let's talk about the downside. I've got one, and it's out here at the muzzle. So let's get a close-up of this muzzle, guys. All right, here it is. This muzzle is a problem. Look how thin this is. Look how thin that muzzle is, guys. So I don't think CMMG thought this muzzle through very well. So this is a half 28 thread pitch. Now, I think they were pondering on this as if it was a 9mm. And that's a problem, because while this is a 9mm bore, it is not a 9mm handgun bore. So a 9mm handgun runs this half 28 thread or a half 36, which is fine. But a 9mm pistol, like a 9 Luger, is going to use 4 to 6 grains worth of powder, and it's a very fast powder. So your muzzle pressure is very low, which is fine, you know. But this 350 Legend uses, you know, 80% more powder. You know, we're talking anywhere between 20 and 27 grains worth of powder. You know, much, much more powder. A much, much slower powder. And in these, even in a longer barrel, your muzzle pressure is going to be much, much higher. So from the bottom of the threads, to the absolute thinnest portion of this barrel, which is going to be the bottom of the groove, okay, you have the riflings that you can see in there. Well, the bottom of the groove, there's only 0.046 inches of steel, less than 50 thousandths worth of steel. And what that's going to lead to is a couple problems. First off, guys, I know they wanted to use, you know, half 28 because that's the predominant 9mm caliber. 9mm suppressors were going to fit on this just fine. But, one, if they were going to go 9mm, it's my personal opinion they should have went half 36. Because, one, we're going to have some, you know, goof up that puts a 223 break or a 223 flash hider on this barrel. It's going to thread on, and it's going to look fine until you shoot it, which is going to ruin the barrel. Secondly, it's just too thin. You know, when you run your flash hider or breakdown on here, you're going to run into a problem where you're going to have maybe 3/4 of a turn with a crush washer, and that's going to, one, you know, it may sound hard or impossible, but it is very likely with this. It's just too thin. You can crush your muzzle, you know, so you have good barrel all the way down, and then right here at the most crucial aspect, you've crushed it, because you're going to want to torque your barrel tighter and to the right. That's where all the pressure is going to be. It's going to squeeze this muzzle. It's going to squeeze that muzzle tighter, and it's going to torque it to the right, you know, clockwise. And that will screw up your muzzle. I mean, look how thin the crown is as well. So please, please, please be very careful with your torque values when you're tightening down some flavor of muzzle device. Okay? I would suggest not going with a standard crush washer or going with shims. I suggest, and I'm going to be doing the same thing with mine, is a half 28 jam nut and your regular flash hider or your muzzle device, whether it be one of the Epsilons or whatever 9mm compensator or just 9mm flash hider. It doesn't matter. But this barrel, I'm going to use a crush washer. Not a crush washer. I'm sorry. I'm going to use a jam nut with my brake or whatever I put on these. I have two, okay? And I'm going to use the same because with a jam nut and a flash hider, they're going to be coming, one's going to be pushing this way and the other's going to be pushing this way. You don't need a whole lot of pressure to hold them together because they're locked against each other. And if you use a jam nut with your flash hider, you can put a little bit of blue Loctite or a little bit of purple Loctite, a non-permanent thread locker, and get away with maybe 10 pounds of pressure. Whereas with a crush washer, you're probably going to need upwards of 30 to possibly 40 pounds of pressure, which can significantly damage these threads. Also, do not, please, I urge you, do not shoot this barrel without some sort of thread protector on it that covers everything, or some type of muzzle device. It's too thin. It's unsupported right here. And you will get, if you shoot a couple hundred rounds through this, you're going to see everything looks fine, but this thing is going to look like a blunderbuss if you drop a pin gauge down it. I'll bet you this thing would open up a couple thousandths, which would still allow you to thread on a flash hider. You would think nothing's wrong with it, but your groups are going to start opening up like crazy, and that's a problem. So please don't shoot this without any kind of muzzle device on it. I really don't think that it can handle it. And like I said, be careful with your torque values here. This is something that they really, I feel, screwed up. I think later versions of this are going to be 5/8 24 like they should have been all along. I mean, we've got a bore diameter that's 50 thousandths larger than a 300 blackout that holds roughly 15% more powder than a 300 blackout, and yet they didn't put on a 5/8 24 thread pitch, which is just, to me, that's just a complete oversight, okay? Then we have, this light profile. If this was a standard government contour, that wouldn't be a problem. I would cut this off right back here to threads. And then I would take it on the lathe and recut it for 5/8 24 threads, and then I just have to pin and weld it, which wouldn't be that big of an issue. I mean, because let's face it, that wouldn't be too big of a problem. But because of it's such a lightweight contour, even if I have the meat back here past this flare to thread at 5/8 24, I won't have a shoulder to screw onto. So see that nice shoulder right there? I won't have that back here. So I won't have anything to thread my can towards or anything like that. So they really kind of screwed that one up. There's no way to really fix that. Okay? So that's the problem we're running into. Now, I didn't mention twist rate in this barrel. This twist rate is a standard 9mm twist rate of 1 in 16. A couple people have asked if that's going to stabilize pretty much, everything. I point you to the 357 Magnum. 357 Magnum shoots with a 1 in 16 twist on carbines and handguns, 200 grain bullets just fine. It also will stabilize 230 grain cast bullets without an issue. Like I said, as we see other manufacturers coming into the game, expect to see 1 in 10 twists, because this is nothing more than a standard 16-inch 9mm barrel. Okay, this could have been just as easily have been a 9mm AR barrel, sans gas port and the barrel extension. So expect to see some other companies that want to streamline production run this with a pistol gas and a 1 in 10 twist, which will guarantee that this will shoot anything you could throw in it. Even with the 16 twist, if I ran the numbers, and the stability factor on a 300 grain 358 bullet, which we can't even fit in here, is still well above 1.5, which is minimum for stabilization. It's like 1.9 or something like that. It's very stable. So this barrel will stabilize most everything that you can put in it, as long as it'll fit, with the 1 in 16 twist. A lot of your barrels back in the day, like the 35 Remington, had a 1 in 20 twist. A lot of your older lever guns in 357 Magnum had 1 in 20 twists, and they still stabilized 200 to 220 grain bullets just fine. So I feel that these barrels, with the 16 twist, is going to be perfectly fine. Once you get faster down to 12 twist, that was meant more for things like the 358 Winchester, 35 Whelen, 358 shooting times Eastern, 358 shooting times Alaskan, and the 358 Norma Magnum that shot those 300, 320 grain bullets at a pretty hefty chunk of speed, but they wanted that 12 twist for it. But anyway, guys, that's the barrel, CMMG barrel. This is the exact same barrel that's on their Resolute rifles and uppers. That's why it took so long to get it, because CMMG decided they were going to build complete rifles, then uppers, and then sell components. So, like I said, guys, if you're interested in the chamber cast, the sulfur cast, shoot me a comment down below, and I'll put that in there. I'm going to link in the description Cattail Run. Like I said, I'm just giving them a plug. I bought this barrel at full price, along with the other one. If you like what we do, I'm also going to put a link in the description for the Firearm Convention and 350 Legend group. Follow us there as well. Join the discussion. Have fun. I want to thank everybody. This 350 Legend has kind of been the Firearm Convention's jump-off point. When I first started doing videos with the 350 Legend, nobody seemed to really care, okay? We didn't really have a whole lot of viewers or subscribers to our channel. But now we've went up in subscribers, a pretty good bit. I mean, we're still small fish. But to us, just to know that people care, to want to watch our videos, that's awesome. That's the only reason why we're doing it. We're not doing it for money. We're doing it for the fun and the love of it. And we're putting our money into it to enjoy it. So anyway, if you would, please like, comment, subscribe. If there's anything you want to see us do, let us know. I mean, we want to bring content that you guys want to see. And once again, I appreciate it, guys. And y'all have a good evening.